Rise of the Tomb Raider Blood Ties review for the PlayStation VR.
Let's begin!
First up, let's take a look at the gameplay. This is actually extra content for the PS4 version of Rise of the Tomb Raider. It isn't unlocked straight away and is only playable after you reach the first campfire in the main campaign, which takes around an hour or so. The VR content has you exploring Lara Croft's manor. The story is that Lara's uncle says that she has no legal claim to owning the manor. Lara believes her dad would have left a will stating that she was the new owner of the house, so you must search for the legal document. To progress with your search, you need to find certain objects to reach different areas of the manor, such as keys, a crowbar, and a flashlight. As well as opening up new areas to explore, some of the objects you find also open up boxes or lockers. Doing this will often give you access to a new document or relic, which serve as the game's collectibles. Certain objects you pick up can be examined. You must find something on an object to reveal more information about it. You do this by rotating the object around. It's never hard to find the correct positioning, and it does add a slight extra sense of discovery when interacting with objects found in the world. You can activate a sense mode, which highlights all the objects that can be interacted with. It does help guide you, but you really shouldn't have too much of a problem finding everything without it. It's certainly more immersive if you don't use it. There is some puzzle solving in the game. Most of the puzzles are quite easy, and if you're observant of your surroundings, they shouldn't be too much of a problem working out. There are also puzzles that involve reading documents for clues, so be warned, this VR content is certainly not like the main non-VR part of the game, where all of the puzzles involve physical actions. Eventually you get a map, which can be viewed at any time. This menu also displays how many objects you have collected and what type you are missing, which is very helpful for people who like to collect everything in a game. You can also reread any documents you have found. This is very useful near the end of the game when the puzzles are a bit more tricky and you must scan for documents for clues. Now let's take a look at how immersive the manor is. The manor is very detailed and because of it, seems quite realistic. The house is rotting away and overall it has a very creepy atmosphere. Quite often I had to remind myself that I was indeed playing a Tomb Raider game and that nothing was going to jump out and scare me, especially in the section when you are underneath the house. To put it simply, the atmosphere is incredible and very immersive. The lighting coming from the torch is decent, but you're not going to see amazing shadows like the ones seen in games like Paranormal Activity. When you examine an object, you will see they are greatly detailed due to their excellent textures, but I would have liked the objects to have been a bit closer to me. They appear very large in scale, but are quite far away from you. The text is easily readable, and you really won't have a problem reading the documents found in the game. The characters' journals are quite believable too, not only because of how they are written, but also thanks to how they are expressed in the excellent voiceovers, which to be honest, are to be expected from a AAA game.
Lara, I've reviewed the report from your therapist. I have to say I was surprised to see a clean bill of health. I somehow doubt you've so easily abandoned your irrational claims.
The voiceovers are also heard in certain areas of the manor when a sort of flashback takes place.
Now, let me see. These two myths are referencing the same source material. But where did I see this image?
Dad, I think it's this one, in the chapter on Egyptian districts.
Why, yes, I think you're right, Lara.
The only other sounds you'll mostly hear will be the ones coming from the storm outside. It really does make you feel alone and quite isolated. Now let's take a look at the setup and what controllers the game supports. I played this game in a seated position just under 2 meters away from the camera. The head tracking was perfect and the game did start to make me feel slightly motion sick towards the end. I did play with free movement on though, and there is teleportation options included. There is actually quite a few options to mess around with to make the experience more comfortable and suited for you. This game is played with the DualShock controller, the other controllers are not supported. You aim for torch using the DualShock's motion sensor. This did not line up correctly for me and was annoying having to point the controller at a strange angle. It's not too much of a problem though, as you can change the torch settings to follow where you are looking with the headset. Now let's take a look at the length of the game and what trophies come with it. The game took me around an hour and 15 minutes to beat, but if you're not interested in reading for documents, your completion time will be quite shorter. There are some trophies included that you can get for playing for VR content, but most of the trophies are rewarded for playing through the main non-VR game. The VR content has 6 bronze trophies and 1 silver. These will be rewarded for beating the game and for collecting all the relics and documents. And now it's time for the verdict. You really don't want to get the full price game just to play the VR segment. The VR content should really be seen as an added bonus. It's a bit annoying that you have to play a part of the main game to access the VR section, but story wise, it does make sense, as Lara does actually return to the manor an hour or so into the main game. I think you do need to be quite a big fan of the Tomb Raider games to enjoy this content, as the main appeal is learning more about Lara's backstory. Exploring the excellently detailed house is fun and incredibly immersive, but the experience overall is very much aimed towards fans of the series. This is especially made apparent in one of the documents when it references the butler from Tomb Raider 2. In that game you could lock him in a freezer, and in this one it mentions it in a comical way. It may only be a small reference, but it did put a smile on my face. If you go into this not expecting a grand adventure, like the ones Lara normally goes on, and you are a Tomb Raider fan, I'm sure you will get some enjoyment from it. This game is probably not what most people envisioned Lara's first VR outing to be like. Would you like to see a third-person Tomb Raider VR game, similar to Theseus? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more PlayStation VR content.